Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me as we move on to the second release of the 2019 Neca Toony Terrors action figures. Just a very quick and simple video today because Neca only had 3 releases for Series 2. Now, I go onto the figure collection database and try and get the most updated checklist to reflect on what figures were released in what year. Obviously, this is only something I've been collecting, hardcore collecting the last few weeks. Obviously, I had a bunch that I collected in the last year or so, but so it wasn't something I was actively pursuing at the time of release. So this is still, for me, a fresh and brand new collection, and I'm really enjoying the pieces. I think NECA's done an amazing job, not only with the Toony Terrors, but I'm kind of looking at the Toony Terrors. It reminds me of not like your mainstream Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck and all that, but like Looney Tunes. I think of Toony Terrors as the Looney Tunes version, or the children to adult type of version. Yeah, NECA, they come out with like these 6.5 and 8.5 inch figures and everything. So kind of getting like these little 5.5 guys and whatnot. I don't know. It's just like a nice little fun take. So I really enjoy them. Now, kind of backtrack to what I was saying earlier. Since I was using that checklist, I kind of wrote down and put the figures in order of the way that they were described in the checklist. But there are several figures that I've acquired that are nowhere on any of the 9 series checklist. So if I can't figure it out, at the time of the filming, then at the end of Series 9, I'll just go over the additional figures that I purchased that are part of the NECA Toony Terrors. And that may or may not include the 2-pack sets. Or I think I have 1 3-pack set, but like you'll have from Saw, Jigsaw, and the little bike riding clown dude. What the heck was his name? He had an actual name, but I don't remember what it was. Anyways, let's dive into the figures themselves. And this first character, I said from the Funko Savage World that this particular character had my favorite figure. And I think so far, I might have to argue the same thing in NECA Toony Terrors. I think Leatherface has produced the greatest action figure. So we got front and back. Now, I've seen a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I don't think I've seen every single one that's ever been created. So Leatherface, or more importantly, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, does have a funny story in my history. Man, my wife is going to kill me for bringing it up. So, in 2003... my wife and I, we were seniors in, well, no. My wife went to summer school and graduated, so she was a college freshman, and I was a high school senior. My wife, she's about 5 months older than me, so I was probably I was 18 at the time. She had just turned 19, maybe within like a month or 2 prior. Anyways, we went out to Texas to see the new 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was the remake with Jessica Biel, and so there was a scene where Jessica Biel's, her character, her boyfriend is kind of strung up and dangling upside down, and then you just see his engagement ring fall out of his pocket and land on the table, and that moment hit such a chord with me, because for like the last month or 2, I'd been walking around with an engagement ring in my pocket. My wife and I, we were at the one of her local malls, and we walked into a store, and we were just kind of looking at rings and stuff. We'd already been talking about getting engaged and stuff like that, so it wasn't anything new. And there was one ring that she picked out that, I mean, she got teary-eyed with it. It was a gorgeous engagement ring. Now, considering the amount of money that I spent on that thing, That ring cost twice as much as my first car. I had no life when I was young. How I was working. I might be working like 2 or 3 jobs, like in between junior and senior year, for example. I was working at my high school. The ROTC program had this summer job type of deal, and like I would leave that, I would go to my Sara Lee job, for example. So I feel like I was always having multiple jobs on top of Sara Lee being my primary position, and so I saved everything. Every time I got a new check, it went straight into the bank. I mean, didn't spend no money. My grandmother, she was so awesome. Every month, she'd walk into the back room. Mind you, there's nobody else in my house at the time, right? It's just us two, and I'm always in the back room watching my TV. And she'd come back there all sneaky and kind of slide a $20 bill into my hand. I'm like, Grandma, there's nobody here. You don't have to. You don't have to be sneaky. You don't have to be all quiet. It's okay. I miss my grandma. She was such a lovely person. And that right there, that's the type of memories I love to rehash because it was fun and it was humorous. So, why is Leatherface an important character in my life? After watching that scene where the ring fell out of his pocket, and I'm like, man, this engagement ring I bought has been burning a hole in my pocket for the last couple months. I don't want to risk getting into a car accident or getting hurt, dying somehow without my, obviously my girlfriend, without her knowing how much I care. So, after the movie, we went back to her home and I proposed to her that night. And it's kind of funny, every time I mention that, like, military coworkers or something, they give me this look like I'm psychotic. But if you actually know our background, and especially me, my background as being so horror obsessed, it actually does make a lot of sense from my standpoint. But a Leatherface, I mean, a nice bulky character, stands great, fantastic accessory. I don't think that it's... Yeah, it is. It is removable. But I'm not going to take it out. In fact, I'm wondering if I can snap his hand in there. Probably not. But great looking piece. The mask is supposed to be skin, right? You cut the face off another person and he starts wearing the face. I think Jeepers Creepers did a little bit a better job than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but perfect accessory, killer look, nice bulky figure, stands well. Neca, I feel like with the Toony Terrors, this really is the pinnacle figure for the line. So, Neca, Toony Terrors, Leatherface. Next up is my man. And the guy that I'm severely disappointed. I wouldn't say disappointed. Shocked. I'm shocked that this wasn't part of the first run. From Halloween, we've got Michael Myers. Such an iconic character. And just to think, a simple jumpsuit. You see anybody in a jumpsuit nowadays, probably for the last 40 plus years. What is it, 1979? So yeah, you're looking at about 45. Wow, 45 years. Insane. But for the last 4.5 decades, jumpsuit will always kind of be the Michael Myers look. And sometimes they'll actually, like on the other cards we were looking at from Funko, they would have like Hellraiser 3 or something on there, right? Or they'd have Halloween Resurrection. Kind of tells you what movie specifically that character was designed from. They don't really do it here. They just kind of put down Halloween. Oh, nope, I lied. And maybe I brought it up because I remember seeing something in the past. It actually does say up here, it's hard to read, but it's right underneath the bubble, it says Halloween 2. Now, mind you, Halloween 2 is just a continuation of the first Halloween movie, so he didn't really change clothing or anything like that. To think that 2 full-length movies happened in the course of one night, that's crazy. Well, the fight scenes. I can't say the whole movie, the whole first movie, because that's inaccurate, but that is the Michael Myers. And just another one of those accessories that look nice, but really doesn't serve a purpose, because you're always sitting at their feet or something, and you really can't do anything with this. I mean, maybe you could try and like pin or thread a string through it and kind of like dangle it from like a Christmas tree or something. So I don't know. In our house, the argument was who was better, Michael or Jason. I think we enjoyed Halloween movies more than Friday the 13th, but I always felt like Jason, to me, probably because of his deformity and kind of like the supernatural. Yeah, Michael Myers is a supernatural being in his own right, but to me, he was still relatively human, where Jason was a ghost-like creature that had risen from the grave type of deal, right? So he just had more of like a supernatural flair. So I always thought Jason was the stronger, and even physical strength. But whether you're looking at the John Carpenter Halloween movies, or you're looking at either of the 2 Rob Zombie movies, that's another man right there. Rob freaking Zombie is a genius when it comes to movies. With The House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, the 2 Halloween movies, I would have loved if he had continued his Halloween franchise, because they were just as good, if not better, than any of the original movies. Yeah, I still say Halloween 4 is probably the best movie ever. Best Halloween movie ever, but Michael here, he's a relatively thin figure. That's okay. Because it's just a simple mask and everything with the jumpsuit. The hair is a little bit spiky, you know, so it's got some things on there. I mean, he's obviously a stabber, so I thought about putting the knife facing up, but I'm like, you're not gonna, stab him. No, you're gonna jab him. So, awesome. This one, here's another guy. Should have been probably a Series 1 release. And we're talking Pinhead. So does they break it down by a specific Hellraiser movie? No, it's just plain Hellraiser. I still didn't look up the guy's name. I know it's Bradley something. I don't know if it's Bradley last name or Bradley first name. But, I was talking about when we were doing this review of the other figures, how I kind of feel like Bradley for Hellraiser and Robert Englund for, oh man, keep getting like choked up. Where was I? Oh, Robert Englund. Robert Englund for Freddy Krueger. Sorry. Throat problems. Hurts. Hard to swallow right now. So, Robert Englund is your quintessential bad guy. I feel like every time you see him in some random like horror movie, like 2001 Maniacs or whatever, I mean, it just doesn't give you the same flavor that he gives you as Freddy Krueger. I mean, the man goes absolutely above and beyond as far as acting skills, and he's just a fun horror icon. You think of like Kane Hodder as the most recent Jason Voorhees. I think he's played Jason like the last 4 or 5 movies, something like that. Maybe in part 6 onward. Part 7, I don't remember. But once I started going heavy into getting all the NECA Toony tears, and I saw Pinhead on Funko, and then I saw Pinhead on Neca Toony Tears. I picked those guys up, and I don't know, I just became obsessed wanting to rewatch the movies. I'm like, okay, I just saw the Hellraiser first movie for the first time in a long time, probably 6 months ago. I watched it with my wife. She finally sat down and watched it with me, and she hated it. And the funny thing is, I really couldn't even complain. Maybe because I've seen the movie 100,000 times. Maybe because, obviously, it's scarier as a kid than as an adult. Especially someone who lives on watching horror movies. But I didn't feel the same way about it. Like, I didn't feel like Hellraiser was as awesome as I remembered. Recently, I rewatched Hellraiser 2. I knew my wife wasn't going to watch it, so I went ahead and I'm like, yeah, this movie still holds up. This movie's still awesome. I have all the Hellraiser movies on DVD. I can always go back and watch them on disc, but the thing is, I don't like having the discs. It's weird because I'm the guy who once upon a time had created his own blockbuster. Movies and TV shows could fill up this entire room probably at one point. And then we moved, and a lot of our movies were boxed up, and there were so many missing boxes. So I don't know how many, probably dozens or hundreds of DVDs were just kind of grew legs and walked away. But like it's one thing to watch something on TV if you're like scrolling through the TV or something, or if you like find a movie on YouTube or something, but pulling out the DVD and setting it up, that, and I think because of all the cables, you got your computer and gaming systems all plugged into the TV, so you're gonna have to unplug something to plug into the DVD, and I'm like, I'm lazy, I don't want to do that. But no, part 3 was my favorite Hellraiser movie, and the difference between the Funko Hellraiser and the NECA Hellraiser is simply the box. So they give you the puzzle box, but it's something like this. You're only going to sit it at the character's feet. You're not going to be able to actually utilize it. Here, the way that his hands open up and close down, they get close into place to keep it where it's not moving. I would have loved if they did something like that. Or heck, create like some kind of like square attachment to the waist, and you can slide the box in there. That way he's kind of like wearing it a little bit. Or make the hands a certain shape where the puzzle box can hold it into his hands. Yeah, I get it. That figure had like multiple weapons, but when you're looking at a Hellraiser, you're thinking flying chains, and you're thinking about the puzzle box. So, did he need some kind of like slicey hook looking object? Not really. I mean, this looks spectacular. No major issues with the figure. If I did have one recommendation, when you're looking at the pins, right, they're like too small, so it's like feeling Braille or something on the head. I would have liked it if the pins actually came up much higher. And then you got the little weapons kind of connected to his body. See, something like that was what I'm talking about. You could kind of put something on where it can kind of like dangle. But that was a recommendation for that figure. This one is just fine. A little bit thinner, smaller figure, but you know what? Even though he has no feet, it's not going to fall over. And that's what it's all about, proper display. So, yep. Alright, so as I said, just 3 figures from Series 2. I wasn't really expecting this to take, 20 plus minutes, and we're hovering at around 20 minutes. I am very bad at giving time management on these videos. That's it for now, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I guess be on the lookout for Series 3 in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.